It's not the From Salerno to Rome monstrous game that I was playing with Jim McFetridge. So maybe that's what you're confusing it with. But yeah, well, both of them have the word Salerno in them, unfortunately, right? hmm But like I said, one of them's a double map. It's huge, beautiful, huge. And the other one is, Mark Simonich, but very small map, and so it's much more contained and frankly a better con game, obviously, because it's you can actually play it, get through it in a reasonable amount of time. But anyway, so I gather you probably got my message from earlier today. Oh, okay. Well, it just occurred to me earlier today. I have to fly to Minneapolis tomorrow for work, and my flight's at 7:30 in the morning, which means I've set the alarm for 4:30 in the morning. So, needless to say, it would not break my heart if we kept this session brief. Uh, uh-huh. Oh, I wouldn't think so. A few disorder checks. I was actually looking over the battlefield and trying to get a handle on where were we in the turn. Um, it looks like we are about halfway down the end turn track, but I'm seeing lots of our units flipped over, but I'm gathering we didn't make it to the end of the turn, so I don't know if it just got late and we called it. That's true. We did. Yeah. Well, and we did some plotting too. David and I went off and plotted. Oh dear.
It's always drives me nuts sometimes here. Hello, testing, testing. All right. I'm seeing something moving on that, so hopefully people can hear me now. All right. Yeah, every now and again when I open up the OBS studio, it changes from
Just
the
doesn't.
mic. I have this beautiful mic selected, and then it
Mm-hmm.
will just go to
Not.
default nothing. Hey, all right. Glad that you guys can hear me. I wasn't saying anything of any value at all, so you guys didn't miss anything at all.
You should feel good.
Yeah, yeah. Don't feel bad. I was nothing witty or anything like that.
I'm looking across the battlefield and I'm not convinced I see a single Prussian command that hasn't been activated.
Yeah, you guys got because you have a +2 on the initiative roll.
Right.
You guys were just getting. I think I got one single. Maybe I got two.
Yeah, you moved some
Two
cavalry
activations. Yeah, I
over.
moved some cavalry and
Right.
I moved. I think I
Yeah.
got a wing activation over on the far west end of the battlefield. So
Oh,
let's
okay.
see. We've got Iggy Criddle and Jeremy Harris and Bobby all signing in. Hello, everybody.
Wow.
Um,
Nice crowd.
yeah, indeed, indeed. So, all right. Yeah. So we called it quits there, and I still have pretty much all of my stuff to move.
Nearly everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I am still searching, and I guess I'm going to open up the order of battle just to make sure I'm not overlooking somebody. But I think maybe it's going to be the Eric and Eric show.
Yeah. Well, it was pretty much the Michael and David show last week.
So there you go. It's
Yeah,
it's
and
it's
I
high
and I
time, I
and when I
guess.
was chatting with David on Monday night, I'm like,
Oh
"Was
yeah.
it this bad for you at Prague?" He's like, "No, it was. There was only the +1," and so a lot of times, it was kind of
Yeah.
going back and forth. a little bit more. This one is just like, okay, well, I'll see if there's any turn left by the time I can actually move anything. Hey, I
That's
did want to
funny.
ask you a question before we get too much into it. Um,
Yeah.
we've got these skirmish units, right? And I haven't had a chance. I mean, last time we were playing, we didn't have any skirmish units on the
Yeah.
Prussian side. So I'm trying to get a sense of what's the. I know how they work in La Bataille, and I know kind of how they're working in the Napoleonic period, but what are they kind of doing in the 7 Years' War? What's their. How should I play them so that I'm not playing them in an ahistorical way?
Mm. Well, um, truth be told, where are they?
I've got skirmishers down here in this town, just right smack in the center, and then I've got skirmishers that
Oh,
are over
of
here
course.
in
Okay.
Kretschkor.
Yes, absolutely. Well, um, to hear the tales from the battle, the the skirmishers just kind of appeared out of the tall grass and took pot shots and were just kind of a general nuisance to a Prussian army that was really very unaccustomed to dealing with skirmishers.
Okay,
Uh, Frederick himself was not a fan. He effectively kind of turned his hussars into a combat arm rather than a reconnaissance and raiding arm. I mean, the good news from his perspective is they became absolutely devastating on the battlefield. The bad news is it meant that he frequently had very little idea where the enemy was.
okay,
Um, so we certainly see the Grenzers being used pretty extensively. Um, but in fact, I guess traditionally they're even called Croats because I don't know if they were all from Croatia, but that was kind of the name they got given.
right,
Um, they are probably pretty well suited to where they are in the sense that they're in villages, and
okay.
therefore they're the fact that they are really incapable at standing up to formed infantry. The terrain would help them a little bit in that regard, um, because obviously you don't want to let enemy cavalry get anywhere near them because they'll just run them down.
Right.
But they can be a real nuisance for infantry if they can just throw down some fire and start whittling away casualties at the enemy, and preventing the enemy from having fresh troops by the time they hit the battle proper. Now, obviously, linear combat being what it is, it's not like we can just block them and go round them.
Right.
If this was the Second World War, yeah, you just screen them and just let them wither on the vine while you go off and do what it is you really want to go do. That's really not practical here. So kind of by being there, you're just forcing the enemy to come dig them out. And
So
it
they're
has
they're
two
kind
effects.
of they're kind of speed bump like. So they're just kind of
Mhm.
nuisance shooting at you, plunking away, and
Making you deal with them so the rest of the army behind you has the opportunity to do whatever it needs to do to get ready.
yeah, well, and that's what I've got to do because I was reading up on this battle,
Oh, were you?
and
Good.
yeah, well, they had. So I have a copy of the game. I think I
Hmm.
mentioned to you I bought it back in the '90s
Yeah,
when it first came out, and so
right.
I got it out and started reading through the history. That a very nice, well done history that is included in the
Mm,
game.
in
And
the
so
original,
basically
yeah.
talking about, how the Austrians were racing people over to this hill, Kretschkor Hill, and trying to,
Right.
form a line and have a backup line and this and that and everything else. And how basically, the big bulk of the battle is trying to take or hold these two hills. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, what do I have that I can get over there? what how can
Right.
I set things up, and so
Yeah, I
and
would definitely think of them as buying you time.
okay.
Um, and of course, I think they got like 40 effectiveness ratings or something. So, I mean, they're
Yeah,
not
they
going to
got
stand up to a
terrible.
lot of
Yeah, yeah.
abuse.
They're
Yeah.
not gonna stick around, and I'm sure because they have to make if they retreat before combat, they have to make a morale check at
At
the
the
end of
end
their
of the
movement,
retreat. That's right.
right?
Yeah.
And if they want to stand, they have to make a morale check. So
Oh,
either
yeah.
way, they're not
You
going to
don't want
stick
to
around.
stand.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. But, I mean, what you do want to do, though, is make the enemy come to you, shoot at them the whole way in, you know, and if you think you can retreat and make the enemy do it again, great. Now the truth is there's a good chance you're going to be shaken at the end of that retreat, in which case you're no good to anybody.
right.
But it's worth a try.
Well, if you're
If you
shaken, you can still
stand,
fire, right?
yes, although obviously at that case, the next time that you try to do a retreat before combat, you're
You're going
probably
to
going to
rout.
rout,
Yeah,
almost certainly, because now you're going to have a plus against a pretty lousy effectiveness rating in the first
right,
place, and you
right,
fail that second one, you're gone. But again, it's that's probably not an unreasonable expectation for kind of irregular soldiers.
right. Okay,
Just get out there, do the thing, hold on for a little while, and then, when it gets too hot, just get lost.
okay.
You
All
know, the
right.
so the guys over there in Kretschor
Pretshore.
Town,
Yeah,
um, obviously they've got the Swedish field works
right,
around the town. Of course, they got the walled church that you've already got some guys in. In
right.
fact, is there another hex down below
There's
that's
like a
also
walled
walled?
farm down here.
Yeah, exactly. So those two obviously are, more substantial. You've got a huge improvement in your fire defense. You've got an improvement to your morale check modifier. So a lot of the things that are really problematic for skirmisher units,
Right.
right? Kind of get helped there. Um, I'm gonna have to look in the special rules because it says on the terrain effects chart, close combat modifiers. Oh, I see what it says. If the people attacking are in line, then the defender gets a +8
Right.
combat value. And if they're attacking in attack column, that's what the AC stands for, then it's +4 benefit to the defender. So, I mean, obviously, what that means is it's going to be hard to shoot them out.
Right.
It's going to be kind of hard to dig them out, and they may be able to withstand a few morale checks.
So I
So
have a
those
question
two
for you.
hexes you
Yeah.
might actually have to work for.
Yeah. Now, those two hexes, it says that you're in general order. And I don't
It
know
does,
that
yeah.
we've played where we've had units in general order. I don't know
Oh,
that we
okay.
recall doing that there at Prague,
Maybe not.
since everybody's out in the wide open. So
Yes,
with general
some
order, do
games
you
don't call
have
for it.
like a facing 360 degrees, or do you?
You don't. It's a good question. Fortunately, right next to, are you on the terrain effects and fire multiples table? Or are you looking
Yes.
at the vassal table, or are you looking at printed?
No, I've got a printed one here.
Okay. Well, there's one called bar formation, fire arc, zone of control, and facing change cost diagrams. It's got lots of diagrams of what's front, what's flank, what's rear for different formations, and
Okay.
and some of the costs to move from one to another. And right top center is general order.
Okay. So you basically have three front hexes and then three flank hexes.
Right.
Okay.
And as I recall, ooh, you know what? I think didn't we have some general order, or maybe it was just like general order crossing the creek? Yes, you did have some general order at Brandywine,
Uh,
as
Probably,
memory
yeah.
serves,
Yeah.
and so that's. that's probably the closest we've come to needing to deal with it. So, in general, the hard part about general order is leaving general order. It is a bear to get back out of.
So what
Um,
happens? You have to make a
so here I
disorder check
am.
or
Yeah, to change from general order to another formation requires the unit to enter a hex that doesn't require general order. In fact, I mean, in practice, you only go into general order when the terrain compels you.
okay.
And so to leave general order, you obviously have to leave the hex that's compelling you to be in general order. The unit must begin its movement segment adjacent to this hex. So, in other words, you got to move one hex, and then it executes the formation change into the hex.
Okay.
This change ends the movement segment for that unit. A general order unit, excuse me, a general order formation must change to any single hex formation and facing that is legal for the terrain in the hex it moved into. So basically, it's you get to move one hex and then adopt whatever facing and formation you like, any single hex formation and facing that you like. But so coming out of general order, it's pretty bad.
Well, but as a skirmisher, do I have that same penalty as if I were, say, line infantry?
Um,
Because I would think that the skirmishers could obviously, move into the woods and into the stuff and in and out a little bit more
Yeah.
easily than
Well,
everybody
I mean,
else.
of course, let's remember. I mean, the only terrain that actually requires general order, I think, is the walled farm and church. I mean, it's that literal handful of hexes. So woods, that's not a problem,
Oh,
right?
okay.
That doesn't require general order. That's ordinary. Obviously, you move slower,
Yeah, so
but
it looks like you're right.
that's
The town of Plangen and those wooded walled farms and church are general
exactly.
order. Okay,
And I
yeah.
don't think I don't think Plangen ever comes into play.
I'm planning on
I'd be
capturing it.
surprised. Are you?
There's a rule that your morale will plummet if I do that.
All right. Well, you'd be sure to let me know how that plays out for you. I'm actually trying to find it, but oh yeah, up in the
Yeah,
right.
it's up
That
on
would be
the
cutting off my line of
western.
communication.
Yeah,
Would actually be extremely handy, but no.
yeah. There's no rule for
Um,
it.
no. So anyway, so so no, it really doesn't make any difference whether it's a skirmisher or not. But again, in practice, if I'm a skirmisher, if I'm in one of those hexes, well, I'm in that hex until you root me out. I'm not
Right.
planning on leaving anyway, except routing. And of course, if you're routing, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just going to go.
Well, and it
So,
looks like, I mean, I can retreat before combat and I can move back one or two hexes. And so it doesn't
hmm
have this. So that might be the way of getting out of those without having to go through
well,
the process of the general order thing as if it's voluntarily movement, right?
well, yeah. But again, remember the other thing is that's the most defensive terrain that you've got,
Yes.
right? And so I don't know why you'd want to leave. I mean, what you're hoping to do is just make me pay at least the three increments that I'm going to kill.
Right.
And frankly, three higher quality increments that I probably would rather have used later.
Right.
You know, um, I kind of always think of skirmishers in a sort of an attritional sense that way. Um, because obviously, when they hit your fresh troops, well, wouldn't it be nice if they were banged up?
Yeah. Okay.
So now the one thing to be careful about though is, and this is where that left flank mixed formation on the Prussians is kind of interesting. I mean, there's cavalry right there.
Right.
So those skirmishers all need to find a place to be safe fast.
Well, so it was, at least from what I could tell, I thought that they were safe in the village. right?
Well, they might be. Um,
Um, because I mean, can cavalry attack into a village? I mean, it said something in there that skirmishers could retreat before uh, cavalry if they're in a village. So
okay.
the
Well,
presumption is
let's take
that
a look.
yeah, but that's in the special rules for
Yeah.
Kolin.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That makes sense.
yeah,
Let's take a look.
but I know, like in La Bataille, in some cases you can't attack, you can't charge woods, you can't charge
Right.
villages or whatever else. So that's why I was trying to also think, okay, well, what should I be doing with these guys
Right.
so
I
that they
still
are
take
sort of safe?
a. I'm looking for. See, I'm not really convinced. I see a lot of hexes that you can't charge into. Village hexes. Yeah, so village hexes described as these small farming communities were of light construction, buildings primarily wood and thatch, and are widely separated from one another. Many of the buildings were just for farm usage and not inhabited. They offered little interference to maneuver and very little defensive benefit. They did tend to slow units down that attempted to pass through them too quickly. Um, and the cultivated fields hexes that are found around the village hexes are only decorative and are treated as clear terrain for all game purposes. So there's nothing about that makes me think villages are going to do you much.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, if you look on the terrain effects chart, you will see that villages do block line of sight, but they actually don't provide you with any benefit in terms of your fire defense value. It's still 10,
Right.
a +1 defense modifier, but only +1,
Right.
and a -5 morale check modifier, but again, only -5. So it's better than nothing, but it
Right.
ain't much. And I don't see anything there that tells me that you couldn't charge into it. In fact, dead giveaway to that effect is that if you look at the terrain effects chart, there's a column for special cavalry movement.
Right.
It's kind of over on the right hand side. It says that the special cavalry movement is 2 for a village hex, meaning you can charge through a village hex. Well, that means to me you could certainly charge it if you can charge through it. Now it costs 2, and you'd have to do a disorder check, so it's not like it's nothing, but as opposed to Walled Farm Church, which shows a P for the SCM cost, and the town hexes, which also have a P, and for that matter, Marsh, which has a P. Those I would be a lot more likely to believe are probably, you can't charge into them.
Right.
And if I look, I expect that's what I would find. That you can't charge into a marsh. SCM is not allowed through a marsh hex. Uh, Adversely affects combat values of attackers attacking out of it or defenders defending into it. It's interesting. It does say cavalry, special cavalry movement, got a little redundant there, is not allowed through a marsh hex, but it doesn't actually say you can't charge into it. But you can't charge through it for sure.
Yeah, the
So
only thing
yeah,
that I'm looking at here is on, I guess it's page 6 of the special rules. It says under
okay.
Grenzers, skirmishers may retreat before close combat when attacked by infantry or by cavalry in woods or village. So that would make me think that if I'm in the village or in the woods and the cavalry is charging me, I could retreat before combat.
I would agree. I think that
Okay.
makes good sense. Um, Kind of a little bit of a dangling modifier there. It
Yes.
almost suggests that the cavalry is in the woods of the village, and I'm not really sure that's what was intended.
Well, and that's why I was trying to figure out what it meant. So that's why I deployed the guys in the village, thinking that I would
Oh,
stand a
yes,
stand a better chance
yes,
because that way, if the cavalry did charge me, I could
that's fair.
simply, find refuge or retreat away, kind of a thing.
Right. Well, I
Um,
mean, that works once, right? I mean, it
well,
works once because you could retreat away, but then you're going to have a problem because now you're in the open. They flushed you. But I mean,
right, but their
that's
charge
the
is
trick,
over at
right?
that point, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
but there's not very many places to run. I guess is my point.
Yeah,
There's
there's this
there
there's
are
this I mean, I
only a
think
few.
the woods were where they ended up holding up for the better part of the battle.
And that would make sense. If you can survive your way to the woods, it's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah. So,
Um, and then what? I'm trying to remember the Swedish field works. The Swedish field works are not bad, really. For one thing, they obviously cause a disorder check. They require extra movement across them. They do quite strongly inhibit close combat as well as fire strength.
right.
So something to bear in mind there is you do have those. And by the way, apparently nobody actually believes they're Swedish, but apparently that's what the locals called it because they remember the 30 Years' War,
Right.
which is pretty impressive considering it was, what, 200 years prior to this?
Yes.
Anyway, um, I mean, you don't really have enough to garrison it, so I'm
No.
not really sure it makes a lot of sense, but it is just something else to bear in mind that, that you do have the north and west and south sides all covered with some things that are kind of interesting, and they don't have direction. So actually, you could use the south side to defend as well as the north.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, they don't have direction.
That's true.
So, um, and obviously, I guess the other thing that potentially keeps the skirmisher somewhat safe and keeping the Prussian cavalry somewhat circumspect, of course, is that you have your own light cavalry in the area.
Right.
Even though it's heavy cavalry who are disordered after charging clearly are vulnerable.
Right.
So it's possible that that would be a thing. But yeah, I mean, to me, this is just about buying time, especially if you have a notion that you'd actually like to defend Crutchor Hill.
Right. Well,
Because
and I
clearly
think I
you're
I think I
quite a
have
long way
to,
from it.
right? But I think based on the victory conditions, I can't ignore it because all that one of those roads runs up through there, right?
Yeah, it sure does.
And so if
Absolutely.
if I just stay on this other side of the map, um,
Then you basically ceded.
yeah, then and then all you need to do is shove 60 increments of stuff over there, and now you've defeated me. And
Actually, I think it's 120 for the tactical victory.
oh, I don't know what it was,
That's I
but
think the one you're thinking about. But no, you're absolutely right. If your objective is to win the battle, then yeah, getting on that hill and defending it wouldn't be a bad idea. And yeah, it is kind of an obnoxious hill there, isn't it? Right? I mean, a good bit of slope going on there,
right,
and then kind of with that obnoxious wood just around it. So yeah, I mean that's the thing. Now the guys in this other village, completely unreadable.
right. Chorensnitz or something. Tits.
Churensits. Yeah, I don't know. God, I mean,
Tis.
the names are bad enough, and then the script makes it even worse. And then the
Yeah.
fact you got to crick your neck 90 degrees to read it. Those guys are in a lot worse condition because they don't have a whole lot to protect them. I mean,
No.
Are those sunken roads?
Yes. So
Okay, well that's some.
I have them in the sunken road for what it's
Okay,
worth.
yeah, yeah.
But I mean, they're still vulnerable to cavalry even in the sunken
Oh, sure they
road.
are. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. It's not great.
Yeah. But then again, they're not Austrians. They're not Hungarians. They don't count, right?
I will attempt not to comment.
There you go.
Um, and
So,
I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
to the degree that you've got artillery set up on the hill up above, you could say, okay, you can try to take my skirmishers, and it's not just them shooting. I'll be lobbing artillery at you. So go ahead if you want to. So maybe that's the approach.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of what I figure I have to do
Hmm.
to make a go of it. So,
Okay.
I'm just not quite well, I mean, we'll figure it out. I'm sure I will
Yeah.
make plenty of mistakes. And if it all goes terribly bad, we can move on to another battle,
Well, you know what?
or we could
I
set
think
it
we
back
can
up and try it again.
try again. Wow, what I really meant to do was.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, you know what? I mean, it sounds like David's not joining, I guess. Not really sure, but
I know he was
if
traveling and he wasn't sure that he'd have a decent Wi-Fi connection. So
you're right.
yeah,
You're right. That was it. Well,
yeah,
since this is mostly going to be you, how about I just go ahead and chuck some
yep.
dice?
Go ahead.
It's pretty much going to be the Eric and Eric show, unless I can find somebody here
I think you
who's.
still have like your army leaders you haven't moved, but or your wing leaders,
Well,
but
yeah, but
everybody else is moved.
actually, remember though, you can.
You can
Everybody
what?
has to move. Everybody has to move as part of a formation. If all of my
Oh,
formations have moved, I'm done.
oh, okay. Then I guess you're done.
I think I am anyway, but
Yeah,
fine. I'm chucking dice. Well, you know what? Miracle of miracles. This one's yours anyway.
there you
So
go.
I will then continue looking at my army and see if I can find anybody who is not activated
All right,
already.
I'm gonna try to move Uvid over here.
Old Veed.
That's right. Now I don't know that I have to make a morale check. Initiative check for him since he's not going
Well,
into combat or anything. Do I?
well, the other thing is actually okay. No. I mean, strictly speaking, you don't need to. The other thing to remember is that he is an independent command,
Oh, okay.
uh, which what does that mean? Um, it means that first of all, he doesn't trace up through a wing leader.
Okay.
And secondly, he probably has a pretty good initiative rating if he's an independent command, probably. And the last thing is, yeah, I mean, only if you wanted a rapid march, probably does it really matter. I usually just would like to roll it or
Okay.
at least be sure of it,
Here we go.
just to be sure.
He's a 7, and we rolled a
Ah,
0, so
yeah,
he's
yeah,
very happy.
job done.
All
Okay,
right. So we'll go ahead and move it. And so that's basically he's got this cavalry, he's got this infantry, he's got this artillery. We'll throw it in with the mix. He does have some other
okay.
units that are out here on the far western end of the universe. Out here.
Oh,
Um,
well out of
yeah,
command.
well out of command. So I'm not sure, like, what's supposed to be done with them if they just move at half speed or.
Half speed and just I don't know. I mean, you are going to have, a bit of awkwardness as you kind of move farther and farther east, right? Somebody's got to cover your left flank.
Right.
Um, so,
Okay.
you know,
Well, I'll go ahead and move these guys first and see what I come up with. So we'll start with these chaps. So this is
mhm.
going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And these guys are going to be here too. And then this guy's going to be, that's going to be 1.5,
Yeah,
I
what's
think.
the
No, what is it?
Yeah, I
Going
don't know.
down the
Gonna have
slope.
to
No, it's
refresh my
just plus one
memory.
half. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. And this
Actually,
guy's,
I believe so hard to tell.
so
That
that's
is that
half,
is
1.5.
I want to find a steep slope.
Steep slopes are
Okay,
up here.
there we go.
They're
Yes,
really
those are
dark.
steep
Yeah.
slopes, and yeah, no, they are. And in
Yeah.
fact, in some of the games, they're actually black, which helps make it
Yeah.
more obvious. But okay, yeah, I would agree. These are not steep slopes.
All
So,
right. So we've got
so
one, two,
yeah,
3, 4.
right.
And same thing for that chap.
Hmm.
And let's move him over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all going to be like lined up in a row there.
Hmm.
1, 2, 3, 3.5. All right. And then the guns can go 1, 2, 3, 4. I wish they could go faster.
Alas,
Yes, indeed. All right. So then I need to put him somewhere where he can keep. And so if I'm do I have to reach this unit for it to be in command, or if these guys are touching, then by virtue of battalion or regimental communication, they can
are
all.
they?
So
Yeah,
that's what
that
I'm
those are
curious
two.
about.
Yeah, all you need to do is get to either of the hexes of that unit, and you're,
So
you
if
know,
I can trace to that unit, then everybody else is in command.
oh, so okay, so probably the way to think about it is this: if you can trace there, that is only one hex away from there,
Oh, okay.
because this and this are viewed as the same entity, and this and
Okay.
this are viewed as the same entity. So if that's 3 hexes away, that's 4 hexes away, just making up numbers, right?
All right. So if I'm here, so that would be 1, 2, 3, and then that makes 4.
Yep,
Okay.
that's fine.
And so
Yeah,
then
that's the
one,
magic
two,
of
3,
regimental
and then these
integrity.
guys are out of luck. Ugh.
One, two, three, four.
One, two,
Yeah, the
three,
four
four.
four is out of luck. And
Okay.
again, remember, you could take the choice of saying, well, if I want to keep everybody tight,
You just
then
move one less.
move one less or rapid march those last 2 guys, and then take a risk that, they get disordered.
All
Either
Oh,
way.
okay.
E-
So we can
Either
just
way.
bring them up another hex,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly. Because you get 2 extra movement points. You could easily do either of those, and that's just a disorder check +5.
Okay. So we'll roll for that chap. And this guy
Hmm.
didn't move. I mean, this would make him 4 to get there. So this guy
Oh,
couldn't
was
move
it?
here. This guy couldn't move here because
Oh, it was just
going
that
down the
the
slope.
9-4 that was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So he rolls, and maybe he does okay.
85.
Oh
He's
yeah,
fine.
no
Okay.
problem.
So everybody's happy there. All right.
Right.
So let's go ahead and flip him over. All right. So that takes care of Veed. All right. Let's go ahead and roll and see what we get. Oh, that's one for you, but you don't have one to
Okay.
go.
Yeah, well, I'm just double checking, belt and suspenders here to make sure that I'm not missing anybody. But I don't have anybody. I believe everybody has moved. Can't find a single command that hasn't moved, so that was another one for you.
Okay. So I'm going to activate this chap here. What's his name? Starnberg. And so
Give me some guidance. Where's
he's
here?
here at Presky Hill. So he's not too far from where Veed was,
Okay.
over here. And I'll activate this artillery with it.
Armberg.
Starnberg, yep.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember these guys.
Yeah. So actually, here's 1.5, 2.5, 3, and
Now, okay, you're at 3.
did I do it correctly?
Well, so what I'd like you to it's just a good practice to just, this is very linear, right? So let's
Right.
do this left to right. Um, because you may find, just like you did on the last formation activation, oh, yeah, it would be convenient if some guys could do rapid marching to keep things tight. Well,
Right.
the only way you know you can do rapid marching is if you know you're in command. So the question is, are you? in command. Oh, and by the way, pro tip, there's literally no reason not to move your army commander now
Yeah, no, I
because
already
I'm
moved
done
him.
anyway.
Yeah, I moved him last turn. So he's over
Oh, so it's
here now.
actually, so you're actually what, at -4?
I don't know. I don't know
Hmm.
what
I mean,
the king is. But I mean, it doesn't matter because you don't have anything, right?
well, the only thing it would do is, strictly speaking, it would let us know what is and isn't a tie.
Oh, okay.
I mean, strictly speaking.
Yeah, I
Anyway,
mean, I
the
think
the point of all this is just, if you know and you do it in order, establish command control first.
right.
Am I in command and are my units in command? Then you know when you then do everything else. Of course, you then do disorder recovery and then fire combat. And then when you get to movement, you actually know what your options are. Whereas
Okay.
if you don't, then you end up having to go back.
Okay.
That's all.
So he's here.
Yep.
And so one, two, three. So these guys, and I think they're all part of the same regiment. So they're all in order. One, two, three.
Two.
And these guys are all there too.
Yep.
So
Looks
it
good.
looks like everybody is in command
Okay. And
at the
then
moment.
is he in command? And of
Um,
course, he's not because the leader's nowhere near him. So
yeah,
he's going to have to put himself in
his wing
command.
leader's right here.
Right. But ultimately, the wing leader's only useful to trace back to the army leader.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's all well and good that you can reach the wing leader, but really the wing leader's real job is to act as an extension to make it easier to get to the army leader. Well, in
Oh,
this
okay.
case, he's not doing that at all.
Mm,
So, so this guy, uh, Starenberg,
right.
needs to roll to put himself in command.
Okay. So I rolled a 5,
Maybe that's enough. Maybe it isn't.
and he's a 7. So
Hey, you
he's,
got some real go-getters there, brother.
yeah. Well,
All right. So
we
anyway,
have,
so now you know that you're
okay.
in good shape as far as if you need to tighten things up by moving some guys a little bit more. Yeah, you can do it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to know. All right. So then let me go ahead and move this regiment first. So
Okay.
one and a half, two
Yep.
and a half,
Yep.
3, and 4 gets them there.
Right. Right. Right.
And I think everybody else is going to be the same thing, right? Costs are all
I
the same for those
don't. Yep.
chaps.
Don't see any
Yep.
differences with them. Yep. That's
All right.
true.
These guys then are going to move. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, and then going here is
Four
4.
down the hill.
Yep.
Yep.
And these
Absolutely.
guys are right along behind them.
Right.
So we'll move them there.
Right.
And then these guys 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can get
Mm,
there. And
yeah,
this
but
guy's going to
the other guy.
go,
One,
that's
two, three,
1,
four.
2,
Yeah.
3, 4 gets him there.
So you probably want to back that one up
Right,
to
because
keep
they're
them
part of the same
together.
thing. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. And then let's
All
move
right.
the guns 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll move him. And if I put him here, then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Everybody's fine, just like we had before.
Now,
Okay.
where's his cavalry?
He doesn't have cavalry. He just has the infantry.
Yeah, he does. I see.
I
I
mean,
see
did I
two.
miss it?
Yeah.
He
Not sure where they
is,
are.
um, he is part of
So my
Marshall's.
apologies. I was still thinking of Veed. I,
Yeah, he's
Never
part
mind.
of
I,
the Marshall's
you're quite
group.
right.
Yeah. So
Nope.
there's,
And you have moved all of his guys. I
yeah,
see that now.
yeah.
So you're good to go. My bad.
Okay.
All right, that's it. Flip him over, and we go back for another roll. 99.
Big roll. Advance the clock, I
Uh,
guess.
oh, actually, you know what? I didn't even look to see if we'd done that on the previous ones.
We
I don't
didn't
think we
have
did
any
though.
that,
1 6 and a 4 1. Yep.
yeah.
Okay. All good. Okay.
Okay. So that's another one for me. All right. And what do I need to do? So I got that stuff moving that way. Um, I'm going to go ahead and what should I move? I will move this body of cavalry here. That is part of
Sir Bologna.
Cerbalone's wing, but it
Is it
is
O'Donnell?
dawn down.
Oh, it is. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is confusing because we have an OD and a BD in the same command, or the
Yeah.
same wing, rather. Okay, so this is Bravo Delta.
Right. So let's
B
go ahead.
down.
He is a 5. We'll roll for him. He's happy.
Good,
All
good,
right.
good.
So
Okay,
let's go ahead and we'll
and
move, I
he's
guess, this grenadier while we're at it.
yeah, because that Grenadier is bound to be a completely independent unit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. And if he's within reach of your command leader there, what's his radius?
I think it's 4.
Is it just 4? Okay, well he's still in reach, so it doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised at the limited compared to what we had at the Prague game, where like your cavalry leaders had a range of 5 or 6.
Right.
And then now these ones are like 4. So I'm just wondering, okay, when they publish the game,
Well, I mean, yeah,
they
to be
change
fair,
things.
it is a couple of decades between the publication of these games for all that the battles took place very nearly the same
Yeah.
time. May have been just one of those things that as they're playtesting Prague, they're like, yeah, there's just no way.
Yeah.
You can't control cavalry on this huge map if you've got to keep everybody that close. So, I mean, that's speculation, but it
Okay.
seems likely.
Well, let me go ahead and
Um,
move this chap then. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 gets him over there. And then I've got this cavalry. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 3.5, 4.5,
no.
5, no, 5. Yeah, gets him there. All right, these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5, 5.5. Let's see these guys. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gets them there. All right, and the guns will go 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and then he can move, I guess, right here. So he'll be right in the center of his little group. All right.
Okay. And let's see what else. Okay. All right. Very good. And
I'll roll the
click
dice.
again. Yep.
22. All right, let me go
Okay.
ahead and roll for this guy then. So he's the
Uh huh.
O'Donnell. And
Right.
we'll just roll a die and see what we get. A
Good.
1. So
Good Austrian
he's,
name.
yeah. There you go. You got to get some Irishmen out there, right? Or Scotsmen. We're not
Yeah.
sure which.
No, O'Donnell would be Irish,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. All right.
Okay. So what do we want to do with them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're just gonna have this whole unit kind of move so that they are gonna kind of line up in the same general direction as these guys. So we're gonna turn these guys. So that's 1. And then we'll
Okay.
go here. That's 2. And
Right.
then there's 3.
Right.
And then there's 4.
Right.
And then there's 5.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Five and a
then we can
half.
just
There
do
you
that
go.
with everybody else, right?
Were
So,
they all? Oh,
yeah. So
well,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gets these guys
right.
over here,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then
Yep.
these guys is the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gets them over there. All right, and then we will move their beloved leader. We'll put him here. Let's flip him
Might as
first.
well move Sarah
And
Baloney
then
while you're at it.
Cerebaloni while we're at it, indeed. So we'll put him here so that way everybody is in command for what little it's worth.
Well, for a guy named Sir Baloney,
Well,
not bad.
apparently he was, one of these court generals that
Oh,
was renowned for being slothful and, any number of disparaging things. But
okay.
apparently on this day of battle, he pulled it all
He,
together.
he redeemed
He
himself
showed
somehow,
up
huh?
sober at the battle.
Wow.
And apparently it was instrumental in saving
Okay.
a lot of Austrian bacon, which otherwise would have, because this, I think, as I recall, this group of cavalry,
Yeah.
sat out here and got shot to pieces, but basically
Hmm.
held the Prussians back. And so that's what I'm interested to see what a cavalry charge against infantry looks like, because we never did one at Prague. We only had infantry on
You're
infantry, cavalry
quite
on cavalry.
right.
So we never had
Okay.
any cavalry on infantry. And so I'm like
Okay.
curious about, well, how does that
Yeah.
work?
Quite. Quite rightly. Yeah. Um. Okay. And maybe we'll get that chance. Although this obviously the other guy's cavalry may have something to say about it. So
Yeah.
just have to see. But in my game of Chatuzits at Consim World, of course, kind of the same thing, right? Both sides' cavalry kind of messed with each other, and the infantry in the center messed with one another. But he so comprehensively dismantled my left flank cavalry.
Mm.
It's it really, just absolutely impressive how rapidly my left just vaporized. And if it weren't for the bulk of the village of Chatuzits, I would have had no left flank at all. And so
Wow.
I'm like, oh, here we go. This is not great. Um, and as the game is winding down, we're running out of time. He he decides that he wants to go ahead and charge,
Uh huh.
and just the nature of his path, he ends up having to charge like the corner of my line, but he's having to charge it in the one hex I can really shoot at,
Huh.
and because it's a hook.
Right.
And just he wasn't able to, because he had a lot of he was having to maneuver around his own infantry to get there
Right.
because it was crowded. And he came in, and it was a big old charge, and it was, Ridley Scott was there with his cameras rolling, the whole deal. And then, I mean, I rolled a 96 or something for defensive fire and just absolutely shredded his guys
Okay.
and sent them packing. And I mean, he wanted to, just like you, right? It's like, well, I haven't done this before, and maybe
Let's
this
try
will
it
be the
out.
thing
Yeah.
that cracks things open. And I said, okay, but just bear in mind that formed infantry, who haven't been battered around too bad, and who've got somebody on each flank, you might get through, but you might very well not enjoy it very
Right.
much. Obviously, once they've been banged up, or if you can hit them in a flank, yeah, obviously, totally different story.
Right.
But yeah, that's the thing that I would use as my brief explanation of what to consider. Okay, so Sir Baloney is all moved and we're good.
Yep. Yep. I guess it's my
All
turn to
right,
roll,
I think
or
so. Yeah,
yep.
I think
Here we
so.
go.
Yep.
All right, a nice little one here. So now
Not
we're
gonna get to
over.
the end turn quick.
Well, I need to move a bunch of crap. And so that's
Yeah,
why I'm
you do.
worried about, like, trying to get in position before we run out of turn type of a
Yeah,
thing.
absolutely. Totally.
So, all right. So we're over here further to the west. We're here with Potpourri, um, or actually Colrat, Colorat,
Colrot.
Colorat.
Yes. What
So
a
we'll try
good
to activate
Colrot.
him. He is a 5 from the looks of it.
Five. Of course, he is actually near the commander, so I don't think he
Oh
needs
yeah,
to.
you're right because
This
the
Dawn's
army
just a
leader's
few X's
here
away.
and
Yep.
there's that guy. Okay, cool.
Yep. All good. So no need to worry about that die roll.
All right. Then let's go ahead and we'll
All
push
right.
them
And who
forward.
does he command?
So he's got these guys and these
Okay.
guys. And then I was looking at it. These guys are independent and these guys are
Yes.
independent.
Aha.
So
Yes, indeed they are.
that's I'm not sure how I'm supposed to do. Like I just roll for them and they make a morale check and they can do something, or
Well, so again, remember, independent units are pretty flexible. So for
okay.
one thing, if they are within the command radius of the activated formation leader,
Right.
which in this case neither of them are, but if they are, then there's nothing to roll. He just temporarily takes them under command and they all work together with him.
Okay.
Alternately, if they're within the command radius of any any non-command leader, then they're in command.
Huh.
Well,
Interesting.
obviously, he is.
Right.
I mean, because he's right there, right? And this guy,
Well,
well,
there's
I
a
don't know. He
leader
might.
here, I guess, right? One,
Well,
two,
but he's a
three.
command leader.
Oh, okay. So it's a
He's a command
non-command
leader
leader.
and not the current command leader. Yeah, exactly. So
Okay.
he may have to roll. And for him, it's just an effectiveness rating check. Just roll and beat your effectiveness rating, and then you're in command.
And then if he doesn't, then it only means that he can't rapid march or charge.
No, no, because again, remember that's the big tricky difference between um a unit out of command and a leader out of command,
Ah, okay.
right? So a leader out of command means the units that he commands can't rapid march, can't enter an enemy zone of control, that kind of crap. A
Okay.
unit that's out of command is half speed
Ah, okay.
and
So they
and
would
can't rapid march,
okay. So they would
and so
just
on.
be the same as that. Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, exactly. And so they really do have, independent units. Independent units really have several chances, right? First of all, their ability to trace is a lot more generous.
Right.
They can trace to lots of different people. And secondly, even if they can't trace to somebody, they could just activate themselves.
Right.
Bob's your uncle, right? So the downside is if they fail all of those, well, then you're slowed down. But
Okay.
all
All
right,
right.
you gonna move
I'm
any of
gonna
those
go ahead and
guns
move
while
these
you're picking
guys.
up
Yeah,
independent
I'll move
units?
these guys here while I'm there. These guys have already moved. They moved
Okay,
when the infantry moved.
I'm glad
So
you remember that, but
yeah.
remember to use the finish markers as ugly as they are in the original game.
Oh yeah, it looks like a big red
It's
blood stain.
well, I'm sure it's a double eagle, but yes, it looks like a big red blood stain. That's
Yeah.
funny. I hadn't thought. Boy, when you say finished, you mean it. Look at
Yeah,
this guy.
yeah. They're
He
pretty
must be
much
two
finished.
quarts
Yeah.
low. All right.
All
All
right.
right. So then, so like I said, yeah. So the
One, two,
oh, do
three.
you want to roll for this guy over here? Because you need to
Oh,
establish
yeah.
his
Okay,
command
let me go ahead and
first.
make a roll. 34. I don't know what he's good for. Let's see.
It seems like
He's a
they're mostly
22.
pretty. Oh,
Yeah.
shit! And a +5 combat value. Those guys are worth
Nice.
kind of making note of because that's not bad at all. Okay, so yeah, everybody's in command then. So carry on.
All right. So I'm just going to try to make a nice little line with them here.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. So if I can bring this guy up 2, and then this guy can come up 1, 2, 3. 1,
Yeah.
2, 3. These guys can
Uh-huh.
turn and come here. That's 3. And then this guy can come up 1, 2, 3 and get over there. And this guy can come up here. 1, 2, 3 there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Now we have
Nothing to
something that's
argue with there.
approaching a line.
Okay, and then you got some
And then I got
guns.
the guns to move. So let's go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4. And
Okay.
we'll move them along there.
All right.
Good. And then I'll flip him over.
Very good. Very
And
good.
there's that. All
And
right.
I
We're
guess
back
it's
to the die
back
roll. Time for you.
back over to me. Yeah. All
Another
right.
small little baby roll.
Wow, you may get your whole army moved, bud.
Oh, I need it. Let's go ahead and move then this guy, who is Woolrath. So we had Colrat and we've got Woolrath. Say that 3 times fast. So
No.
he's right here next to his wing leader. He's right there. The army leader's right there. And
All
so
right, so he's
these
obviously
these
good
guys
to
are part
go.
of it. These guys are part of it. These guys are part of it. And these guys are not. They're part of that command from the looks of it. Yeah. So we're going to just go ahead and send them. So I got Castiglione is
Oh,
a,
okay. Yeah, this is a
he's another
kind of a small
independent commander.
W.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and bring these guys up and form a second line.
Oh,
1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. There we go. That looks nice. We have a nice gap. Okay, then we will move our wing commander. He's got a range of 5, so we'll put him here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that looks good.
And
Where is Castiglione?
he's right here. And so here's
Oh,
2 of
wow.
his guys, and then there's another one
But
out over there.
yeah, they're kind of scattered a little bit, aren't they? There's one more somewhere, or are 2 of them stacked?
Um, let's see.
No?
Uh,
The O'Donnell cuirassiers, there are 2 of them. I don't know where the other one is.
huh.
See how
Yeah.
that one's
I
marked
see
as
there's
an
just
A?
one. Oh, yeah. Well,
There's
here's A over here, right?
no, that's what I'm saying. Where's B?
B is here under Castiglione.
Oh, well then there's another unit missing. You got the
Then
the
we have the
JM Dragoons,
dragoons, which are
and
here. And
then
then you've got
looking.
the Saxon Guard carabiners are here,
Oh,
right?
my
So he's
bad.
got
Okay,
4
I
units total from what I
no
can
no,
tell.
I do quite agree. I
Okay.
did not. I missed one of the units and all of that. So all good.
Okay. Well, cool. All right. So now we go back to rolling the dice, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Here we
Is
go.
it it's you
Yeah,
this
it's
time?
me, and that's enough to.
I don't know
No,
that
it's
it
not.
is.
It's got to be
I
better
think
than 11.
it needs to exceed 11. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hey, but it is a
so
wing. Now that I don't have any wings left.
yeah, yeah, that's happened to me once or twice.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get Castiglione to move. And let's go ahead and bring him up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get those guys up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4. If he turns 5 and 6, then he would be facing that way.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then this guy was out of command. So
Oh
he
yeah, he
can only move
was.
half.
That's right.
So I will turn him So that's 1, 2,
Mm,
and 3.
right. And then
And
might want to make sure
I can move
Castiglione is a few
Castiglione
hexes
here,
over. Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And then
Yep,
he can get him back in
that's right.
command.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. Good. I think I got that one done.
Very
Um,
good.
eventually, we'll have some sort of defensive line here, for
It
what it's
could
worth.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It's your turn.
It's 3, and he's moved, so that's becomes 1, and the king is 5. So it really is +4 right now.
Yeah.
Um, okay, now
Well,
that
that's going to
does
move the
move
clock. Yeah.
the end turn track, although it looks like at the rate we're going, you're probably going to slip in under the wire anyway. Um, okay, well that's another for you.
All right. So I've got who's left? I've got Marshall here and these guys here. And Lau. And Lau.
Yeah,
And
strange name.
they have not done anything exciting yet. So
Oh, you've already moved the other half,
I moved the
the
other half.
ST
Yeah.
half,
Yeah.
right? But haven't moved them. Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, so I know that we're opposite each other, but does it make sense for me to unlimber the guns here on this slope or the higher slope? I'm not sure what's the.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a, a trick there because again, this is not Borodino. You don't have this massive weight of firepower that maybe you're thinking from your Napoleonic games. Um, so and the other problem is that what power they have really kind of gets concentrated in the last few hexes.
Okay.
So don't think you're going to sit up on top of the hill and lob things at me where I am now, right?
Right.
Because
No.
that ain't going to happen. Um, so yeah, I mean, on the one hand, being on top of those steep slopes, I mean, that's pretty attractive, right?
Right. Well, that's what I
Because
was thinking. Yeah.
that means somebody's gonna have to get around your flank because they
Right.
sure don't want to come right up your front, right? So okay, that's pretty interesting. If you've got a nice defensive line there. Obviously, there are some weak spots because those slopes are kind of occasional,
Right.
so you just have to think about how you want that to look. But yeah, I, I kind of seems like if you can afford to, that is to say, if you can get there quickly enough, then yeah, setting up in front of the lower slopes might not be a bad thing.
Okay. And then some of these have got howitzers. And so I know usually in
Yeah.
howitzers with Labatai, I am I'm firing indirectly, but I'm not sure if that works here or I need to have a line of
Uh,
sight to you to shoot the
yeah.
howitzer or how
How
does it
to?
work?
Yeah, I do remember howitzers. Here I am looking because you're asking me a question and I ought to be able to answer it. Line of sight howitzers 12.6D, and yes, sure enough, within 10 seconds I find the rule. Artillery unit types designated as howitzers in the game's battle rules may ignore friendly units for line of sight purposes, providing the firing howitzer has an otherwise valid line of sight to the unit, and the friendly unit is closer in hexes to the firing howitzer than it is to the target unit. A howitzer unit firing over friendly units, which is effectively what that is, has its firing SPs halved, and howitzers stacked with infantry must still be on top to fire.
Okay.
So, yes, but obviously it weakens them so much that it's like I'm not really sure what the point is.
Okay. So
It,
it's better to have them deployed where they have a line of sight.
It seems like it to me. I
Yeah,
just don't see like you gain very much by having that non-line of sight because cut your firing strength in half. It's
right.
not like you got that much firing strength to start with, right?
Correct. Okay. Well, now I got to figure out where the heck to put these guys.
Exactly.
And everybody else for that matter, because I've got a lot of ground potentially to cover. And you got a big
Yes,
long
yeah,
line of stuff. And so that's part of
that
the
is
challenge.
that is definitely the trick is
Yeah.
trying to figure out how do you and how not to get in the situation that poor David found himself in last time where you got no reserve.
Yeah. Well, I've got a reserve. It's just way over here to the west.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just,
It's maybe more reserved than it should be.
yeah. It's just marching
Yeah.
at a super, super slow pace kind
Right.
of a thing.
Right.
So, okay. Well, uh, let me think here. I'm trying to figure out how to. And so, if I wanted to have a unit go into 2 hexes, it would
Uh-huh.
cost then a movement point to stretch them out into 2 hexes, or
It it does. It costs a movement point to stretch into two hexes, and I think that when I say that, it's because most of the time you're going into clear terrain, and so that's no big deal.
right?
I think probably the better way to say that is what would it cost you to move into the hex
Okay,
if you were facing
right,
it, which obviously you're not. But I don't. I believe that that is correct. If you for some reason extend it into a woods hex, I think you should expect it to cost you more than one.
right. Okay,
But
so
I'm double checking
yeah.
that.
All right, so I will trying to figure out what to do here.
Hmm.
Um,
Oh, okay. I was almost right. For extension or contraction, each actually it's a very strange way of them saying that. It was strangely phrased. It says I'm reading literally, for extension or contraction, each new hex of a line costs the unit one movement point in addition to the terrain costs of the hex extended or contracted into and any hex side crossed. It's
so
a little unusual to actually
it
have a
would
hex side
so it would cost you
feature.
if it's clear
So it
terrain, it would cost you
costs you
2.
two.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. So that's well worth remembering.
okay.
But you're right. I mean, some of those units are big enough that, yeah, spreading them into two hexes just gives you more frontage.
Well, and that and the fact that I think if they are 8 or more in thing, then there's a fire bonus against
Yes.
them, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, and with four there wouldn't be, and it maximizes your firepower
right,
if you do it that way. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to be said for that. Um, the sixes, it's a little harder to make the case,
right.
but with the eights, it's pretty clear. Yeah.
Okay. So let's see here. I want to have these guys move. Um, so these guys over here, I want to try to get them to move. So if they're gonna go 1, and then they'd have to go here because they do the zigzag, or it would cost them
Yes,
2, 3 to go there. Is that
that's right.
correct?
And then that's no, you're exactly right. And then
Okay.
if you wanted to do an extension, it would be 4, 5, so you'd
Right.
need to rapid march.
Okay. So
Which, if
I'll
you're going to
go
rapid march now, would be a good time to do it because the enemy's a long way away.
right. So 1, 2, 3
Two,
gets me
three.
there.
That's
And
right. Yep.
then that's 4. Whoop. Oh
Is
my
that the way
gosh.
you wanted to go?
Well, he's here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
1,
Got it.
2.
Right. 1, 2, 3. Right.
Yeah.
So, and you're extending to the right.
And so then he goes there, right? Or he
Okay.
goes
Yep.
there.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the way that gets represented in the game, oh, is it not letting you
It's
put
not
him
letting me put it in the
straddling?
middle. Yeah. We have to
Oh, no,
use
that's you have to use an
extended line
extension marker.
markers.
Interesting.
It's
Pointing back
obviously,
at the
yeah,
host unit. Yeah. Okay.
not my
Yeah,
favorite thing.
curious.
Yeah,
No, not a huge fan.
yeah,
Um, but again, this is an old game and it's an old module, so I guess they made everything snap to the grid
right. Okay.
instead of letting
So
you
then
do
this guy's going to
middle.
move. There's one, and then he's going to
Okay.
turn.
Yep. Sure.
So that's
Two.
two,
Yep.
three,
Yep.
and then four gets him here.
Yeah, and then he could next turn.
Next turn, do something. Now, this
Well, or
guy, do
you
I
could
have to
rapid
roll for
march.
him? I should roll for him before I forget, right?
Yes. Yes, you absolutely should.
He's happy.
Okay, all good. Yep. And so
Okay.
that guy's at 4, and obviously a little awkward because his flank's hanging out in the air. But I mean, the enemy's a million miles away.
Yeah.
So
Well, I've
you
got
know.
this guy over here that hasn't moved yet. He's out of command, but he's attached to this command. He's part of Weed, but he's attached to these guys.
Is that what it said in the?
That's what it says in the special rules for
Okay.
uh,
All right.
when with setup. So
But regardless, he's out of command.
he's out of command, yes, because he's too
Okay.
far away from
Just too far away.
that guy. So
All right.
he's going to turn. There's one,
1,
and two puts him there.
2, and that's
Yeah.
all he can do. All right. What about that last guy from
This guy here, I want to try to.
Puebla? What are we talking about? Were we in New Mexico here?
These are probably, yeah. I mean, these are. We probably have some Habsburg Spaniards here, or whatever,
Yeah,
right?
they could. They could be. It's hard to say.
One and two, three and four. Okay,
Okay.
so we got something approaching. Well, we'll slowly build a line.
Mm-hmm.
All
And
right.
then who's this other
Um,
one?
this guy
Moltka.
here. Yeah, let's go ahead and get them one. So one, two, and then 3, 4 will extend his line.
Okay. Yep.
So let's just clone that
Just gonna
extension
say.
and put it there.
Okay. Yep.
And then we'll move these 1, 2, 3, 4. Start moving them up.
Okay.
Well, let's see. I've got those other
I'm not
guns.
sure. Is that really what you want to do?
Well, it's like anything else. I'm sure I'll figure it out after.
Figuring it out as you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. After disaster
Yep.
ensues. Yeah.
1,
Yeah.
2,
2.
3,
That's 3,
4.
4.
Yep. And then this
No.
guy.
No. That was 3, 4.
Because it's up a slope. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't see that.
Yeah.
All right. And then this guy's going to turn. It's 1, 2, 3,
3.
4.
Oh, yep,
Gets in
yep,
there.
yep.
Okay.
There you go. Okay.
Yeah, I was spoiled having all those beautiful Prussians
Yes.
and then wasn't able
Yes.
to do stuff. So let's see here now. These guys. Ugh. Okay, so these guys, let's mark them as finished. There we go. All right, I got these guns. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, they'll turn and face this way. 3, and then 4 will go there, right?
Okay. Yeah.
All right, and then these guys are going to go 1, 2, 3. And these guys will go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Okay, and then
Looks good.
let's see, where can I be so I can.
See them all.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Well,
Let's see.
that's going to be 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's not that bad once the line, especially once the line starts assembling a little bit. Because of
So
the
1,
extended
2,
lines.
3, 4. 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4. Okay, yeah. So
Yeah.
this
So
guy is out of
it's not as.
command, but
Yeah. Yeah.
okay.
So he'll get there with any luck, before the Prussians.
I think so, because
Yeah.
you've got a fair amount of terrain to cover.
Oh
You've
yeah,
got some
absolutely.
slopes, you've got some sunken roads, you've got some
Oh yeah.
villages. So I'm hoping I will have some semblance of defense to greet you. In theory. Um, all right, and then I'll move this guy. One, two, three, four, five. Okay, and so he's here, and so he can keep everybody happy if we get a wing activation, although he's not terribly exciting. Okay, um, I think we're working on. I think I've only got like one more command left. So let me go ahead and
Okay.
throw the
Well, that's not bad.
dice.
Okay.
71. That's
All right. Another wing for you.
yeah. So I got way
Yeah.
over here to the far west. I've got this little group of people here. Um and
Um,
so yeah, this is
I'm sorry.
Beck's command way over here.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
Way over there.
way
Yeah,
over
got
there.
it.
So so there's a bridge here, but I didn't see anything for the bridge. So I have to go into road or something, or how does that work? Or is it counted
Oh.
as crossing the stream?
Uh, I gonna say that's interesting because you're right. It doesn't get mentioned. I'm gonna say that if you're not in road column, you can't use the road, and the bridge is part of the road. So, I
Okay.
mean,
So then it's
you
crossing a stream.
treat it like it's not there unless you're in road column. If you're in road column, just march right on over. It's just a road. But yeah, in your case, since you're in March column, it's crossing the stream.
Okay.
Because really, March column is going to be a lot wider
Right.
than
Then a road
than
column.
than road column. Exactly.
Right. And so if, yeah. Okay. So the difference is that this, I guess, is actually the creek, even though it's called a stream.
Oh
This
yes,
is
I
the
see what you
creek because
mean.
it's thicker, and these little ones here are the
That's
streams.
yes, I believe that is correct. That is the one that's actually a creek.
Okay. So
Creek's
that's for
probably
the
not a
cavalry,
German
it's
word.
+2, and for the infantry, it's +2. Okay. And then they have to make a disorder check once they're moved, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. And then they're moving through the village. Does that trigger a disorder check too? It looks like.
I don't think so because I think you'll find that village.
Well,
Oh no! Wait a minute.
it's got a
Yeah,
little
yeah, it does.
asterisk
Yep,
there.
yep. No, it absolutely is. It's affecting terrain for disorder checks. So if you cross the hex, move into a village hex and out of a village hex, that's 2. So it'd be +10 to your disorder. Now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the guys behind are actually going to get +15 because they're going to move through 2 hexes
Right. Well, I mean that's if
of
they've got the
village.
movement, right? So it costs them 1 to move there, and then it costs them 4 to go there, right? Because it's +2 to get across
Oh,
the
wait a minute.
creek.
These all the guys behind are Grenzers. I didn't
Yeah.
realize. Only
So
the
they're
front
actually in
hex are
skirmish. They're
Hussars.
actually in skirmish.
Oh, well, obviously, then in that case, disorder doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
There is no disorder for skirmishers.
Right. And the hussars, well, some of the hussars, I think, can are in skirmish order too, or can be, right? They're these Grenzer ones.
Yeah, I think the only difference there is that well, first of all, we probably should just double check
Right.
to make sure if they have any choice or if they're always. So that's going to be on page 6. They are skirmish capable. When they are deployed as skirmishers, place the skirmish marker on them. Whereas the Grenzers,
are
Are
always when they are broken down into their little companies.
right.
Yeah.
They're considered to be light infantry, while the breakdown units are skirmish only. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Right.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So let me go
So
ahead and move these guys. So they're just regular old cavalry in March.
that's
So
right.
moving into the village is going to cost 2. And then it's +2 for going across the creek. So that's going to be
That's
4.
4. Okay. Yep.
And then 5, 6, something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. All right. So then I make a morale check for the top unit, or I make a morale check for all of
It's
the
a it's a
units.
it's a disorder check, and it is for the stack, but the top unit is the one that takes it for the stack.
Okay. Well, I have no idea who's good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah, yeah, whether that was the right order or not, it's
Yeah.
hard to be sure. But yeah, okay. And it's
Whoops.
plus 10.
Well,
Boy,
I could put the this one
yeah.
on the
Yeah,
top.
I think the Kaiser Hussars ought to be at
Yeah.
the top, it
Yeah.
looks like, because wow, it's not even close.
Yeah. Everybody else is pretty much cannon fodder.
Pretty, pretty terrible. Yeah,
Okay. Well,
okay.
let's roll and see
All
what we
right,
get.
so
61.
okay,
So they're
all good.
fine.
All right.
Okay. So
And then what
not
is those
disordered.
skirmishers?
So then they're going to moving into the village is 1, and moving across the creek is still +2. So there's 1, and then that's going to be 4. And so then here that's 1.5. And then these guys are here, and these guys are here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
can't get any further than that.
yeah, a little hindered by the
Okay.
creek there.
All right. With Beck. Bend it like Beck.
Oh, just like that.
Something like
Okay,
that.
I was gonna ask about these guys here, Veed's guys.
Which ones?
When you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
the ones right over in that
Yep,
same
yep, yep,
neighborhood,
yep.
we talked about them being out of command. I think you just forgot to do anything with them. I don't know. Did you want
You
to
know, I don't
move
even know
move
where
them
the
and do
hell I'm
anything with them?
supposed to, by the time they get anywhere at the pace they're going, I don't know that it's going to impact things because I'm marching Veed all the way over to the other side to Kretschkor Hill,
Yeah,
right? So if these guys are
yeah,
moving at 2 each, I don't know that they're
yeah.
going to
I
get
mean,
anywhere.
obviously, you might. I mean, yeah. First of all, yes, that makes sense. Either you leave them on the left, you know, to kind of just provide a speed bump, or to try to kind of at least be a threat in being on the left flank, or you just put them in road order right now, because obviously there are east-west roads you can use.
Oh, are there? Okay. Oh, they
Oh
just have
yeah,
to
down
march. You just have to march all the way the hell and gone.
they just they just got to march south and east to get to that road. I mean,
Yeah,
but to be fair, I mean they're marching 4 hexes a turn once they're in road order.
right. Well, that's better than a poke in the eye. Um,
Well, and really, units out of command, literally all they're good for is speed bumps. They can't do much except shoot.
yeah, well, I've already got these speed bumps out here. These are more of Beck's
Yeah.
skirmishers. Now, I don't see the Prussians making a big move out towards this part of the line, kind of given what Frederick was trying to do. Um,
Well, yeah, and again, kind of remember the victory conditions, right?
right,
We need to be west of those certain roads and south of a certain column,
right.
right? And so you're right. I mean, there's no point in going too far west without also being able to get quite a bit south.
Okay.
Because I mean, we have to be, each of them is a little different, and But I used tile spacers for sure when I was playing this myself, because otherwise it was really hard to keep track of what were those different tiers
Right.
of victory condition. But you're absolutely right. The other thing is the Prussians are nowhere close.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like you'll have plenty of warning if the Prussians do come that way. It's not like you can turn these things on a dime.
So I put them in road column.
Uh
How
huh.
many increments are in road column? They've only got
Uh,
6 increments. Are they 2 increments each or
you. Oh, okay. Are they? Are they? Oh, they're different. I think it's still you can do it. This is um, a rarely used rule, and I think I remember it being something that got used in Fontenoy. Um, being in road column, no, because they're not members of the same regiment.
so
Okay,
I
never mind.
so
Okay,
because they have
so in
6
this
increments,
case,
they have to be spread out over
they
2
have to be
hexes?
spread over two hexes because they are too big to fit in a single. You know what? I take. Pardon me for just messing with your mind,
Sure.
but until they get to that, well, in fact, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Let me restate everything I was talking about, because the what does road column get you? Well, road column would get you a third if you were on the Kaiserstrasse, but of course you're
Right.
not going to. It would get you a half on
The trail.
other terrain,
Right.
on the minor roads. Um, but I mean, you get half in clear terrain if you're just in march column. So what extra do you get with road column? You don't got to pay to change. So if the road changes direction, you don't have to pay. And slopes don't mean anything to you if you're on a road.
Right.
So looking at this road down here, it's pretty straight. So it's in other words, it's not getting you very much, right?
Right.
The big benefits that you get don't really apply very much. For one thing, there are not a lot of slopes along that road. So in
Right.
other words, maybe you're just as well being in march column and just going just
Okay.
whatever path you want. Um, on a different map with different circumstances, maybe it would have been worth it to go to road. But now that I look at it, I don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. You might as well just go in March, in which case you don't have to worry about um, stacking.
Right.
So just move them all to what terrain are they in?
They're in villages right now.
Oh, that could be a problem. They might need to get out of the village before they can start doing all that turning and stuff.
I have no idea. Can you not change
Um,
facing in a village?
Well, you can. The trouble is if you change facing in, well, okay, formation changes in non-clear terrain are a problem. Um, Here I am looking. Not sure why I'm having trouble looking for it. Oh, it's because it's under formation changes, not under movement. So, yeah. In fact, if you look down there, you see where the asterisk is on the terrain effects chart. It it talks about affecting terrain for disorder checks. We talked about that
Right.
earlier with the creek and the village, right?
Right.
But the other thing it says there is for series rules 8.7. What's that? 8.7 is non-clear terrain formation change.
Okay.
If a unit makes any of the formation changes marked by an asterisk in sections 8.4 and 8.6 and occupies or crosses any hexes or hexsides that are non-clear terrain, that is the only thing it can do in its movement segment. All of its movement points are expended by doing it. So what that means is they're in line right now.
Right.
If
Yeah.
they went into column, that would take their entire movement.
Okay.
So what I was just going to say is, well, you could do that. Um, uh, um, and then it says movement points are still calculated, including +1 for an EZOC and any expansion and contraction costs. If the cost requires a rapid march, then you got to roll for a rapid march. And to make a non-clear formation change, a unit cannot have expended any movement points prior to the change and cannot be disordered. So I guess all I'm saying is they were facing north and they were in line, right?
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I'm making too much of this, but it just seems like you could very easily just do a line backup for each of them, march them one hex south and west. Now they're in clear terrain. You can do whatever the hell you want at that point. I mean, yes, you used your 2 movement points to back up, and you got to
Right.
do a disorder check. But now you're not doing this whole
Right.
um, change of
Other thing.
formation
Yeah.
in
In the
town. Now,
village. Right.
yeah, and I don't know. It's six of one, half dozen the other, but at least you're in clear terrain
Okay.
now.
We'll roll
So
for
I'm not
the
sure.
topmost one. He's
Yeah.
happy. We'll roll for the next
Okay.
chap. He's happy.
He's even happier. Okay. All right. So they're they're done, and again, don't know if you just want to leave the Grenzers there because what the hell?
Yeah. I mean, their commander's coming up the road this way, so maybe we'll pick them
Oh,
up at
oh
some
yeah,
point.
that's right. He's part of that outfit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Although the Grenzers can move independently, right? So I mean,
I
I
don't
can act.
know. Can they?
Well, so
And they,
they're independent units, aren't they?
I don't think they are. Because I mean, if they're part of his command, I don't think
No,
so.
no, no. Those guys are, but like the other ones that are out here on the
Oh, the
field
other Grenzers, yeah, absolutely, yeah. The ones that are out in
in
the
the
village,
hinterland. Okay.
Krechor, and out in that other village, yeah, those are independent units. They can do whatever the heck
Okay.
they want.
So before we do anything else, I will move a couple of them, right? So head over to
Oh, because
Kretchor.
you haven't activated.
Yeah, I haven't
None
activated
of them
anything
have
yet.
actually activated. Okay, yeah. So by all means, go ahead and do
Yeah.
that while you're still finishing this.
Yeah. So I'm
Um,
thinking I'll move this guy over here, and so he'll have enough movement points to do that. And then this guy can just move up there. And I think
okay.
that will be the extent of things.
Now, one thing.
Unless you have some
Okay,
advice for me.
no, not at all. They're in skirmish.
Right.
So they've got 4 front hexes.
Correct.
So you might want to consider that. Obviously, it's not very likely anybody's going to get behind him, but just remember the facing.
So,
Do you
uh,
want him facing north and having his 2 rear hexes there? Maybe that's the right thing. Maybe having rear hexes over here would be okay. It's
oh,
less
I see.
critical than
Because, oh, okay.
it would be for line infantry, but I mean, obviously, your left over here is kind of protected, at least a little, because you got these guys. Now, this guy's actually different because he is in general order.
Right. So he's going
And
to have
actually, the
one, two,
general order is
three front hexes,
gen,
right? Oh, actually, no, he's
general order,
facing a
he's
hex side.
facing a hex
So
side.
one,
Yeah,
two,
exactly.
three is so
Right.
that's a better thing for him.
Seems like.
Yeah.
Seems like, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and then obviously they can change facing as needed. But anyway, so yeah,
Okay.
that's it. And okay, well, so is that it for your guys?
I think that is it. I think I've
Okay,
moved everybody. So I know I moved all the cavalry that's out there on my right wing. I know
okay,
that I've moved all the infantry that's in the center.
okay.
I've moved all the artillery.
And these guys over on the
Um,
left have moved.
yeah, and I moved those little bebop guys.
Bebop.
Bebop, bebop. They're very small.
What what's the story with these guys way in the southwest? Um,
Southwest.
yeah. In fact, the one I'm specifically
Oh,
thinking of is this guy I'm flashing because he's actually part of this outfit
yep.
up here.
He's
He
part
should
of,
have
yeah.
activated, obviously out of command.
Yep.
So he's only got 2 movement points, but
Yeah, and he shouldn't be in line anyway because he's not fighting anybody.
well, no, it doesn't make any sense for him to be in line.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, when I set my guys up, I had no idea where you guys were, so I
Oh,
just
sure,
kind of
sure,
kind of
sure.
did it
Yeah,
that
no, I
way.
mean, I don't have any profound objection. I'm not sure what the scenario instructions said, but it seems a little nonsensical for those guys to be in line.
All right. So
So yeah, so he could
let's
only
just let's
move.
just pretend that they were in column, shall we?
Yeah, sure, why not?
So there would be 1, 2, and he can make his way towards his
Yeah,
commander there, or vice
yeah,
versa.
exactly. Okay,
Okay.
but these other guys from uh Command P,
They already moved, because their
they
pueblo is over here, and they
oh
start
yeah,
off
yeah.
they start off way the hell and gone.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's
yeah.
just
So
like no
they've
way to
made
have
progress.
all my guys in command. So I
Yeah,
think
no,
from at
totally.
least from what I was reading, the
Hmm.
Austrians all had their stuff facing to the west,
Yes, it
down
was.
along this way,
Along
and
the
then
creek, yeah.
suddenly it's like, okay, Frederick's over
Yep,
here, and they started to turn and shift things around.
exactly. No,
So
you're exactly right. That was the original setup, and it's actually kind of interesting, I guess, because they didn't want that town in the middle of their line. They didn't like set up straddling the Kaiserstrasse. They just set up on those hills on the backside of the creek,
right.
which kind of invited the king to just think, oh well, I'll walk past you. But
Yeah,
what the king did not
they did
realize.
have some cavalry and some Grenzers out here in Plangen, but
Okay,
they got swept out of the way
of
by
course.
Ziethen's hussars.
Right.
Um,
But I think the thing that the king did not appreciate is that the Austrians could see him a hell of a lot easier than he could see them.
right,
And so they weren't remotely fooled by this march down the Kaiserstrasse. I mean, they knew perfectly well that they needed to turn and face them.
right,
And again, because he just, I don't know, he had in a number of circumstances, he just didn't do a very good job reconnoitering the field. And to the extent that he would reconnoiter the field, say that 4 times fast, he often insisted on doing it himself,
right.
which is just dumb. Um, that's what you have an army for,
Yeah.
you
Well, and
know.
what's interesting is, and at least from what I had read in the history that was published with the game,
Yeah.
they had talked about the um, I don't know whoever he's got some fellow with him, Moritz or one of his leaders,
Yeah.
who's basically saying, no, we should just keep marching another. We should keep marching a little bit further to the east
Oh yeah.
before we turn and start to fight.
Right.
And they didn't, and so that's why they couldn't do like the big wide sweeping turn,
Right.
and
Because they turned and ran right into him.
yeah, yeah, they kind of turned prematurely, and then I guess the who's it, Manstein, kind of got sucked into attacking um, because of the Grenzers sniping, as you said,
Right.
from
Yeah.
the tall grass or the rye or whatever was growing. Um,
Right.
and so they ended up committing over in that section a little prematurely. So
Exactly. Yeah. It was not a well conducted battle.
yeah, and I'm looking at it, and it is. I mean, the one thing that's different from between this and Prague is
Hmm.
you've got cavalry like backing up behind your infantry. So you have more of a
Yeah.
mix than what we had. At Prague, we had like
Yes.
everything is down at one end of the field, kind of a
That's
thing.
right. Yeah. All the cavalry was down at the end. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so
For both
here,
sides.
yep, for both sides. Exactly. And so therefore, um, it, it, it had a totally different feel. Here you have the possibility of like some element of combined arms,
You
maybe.
could actually. Yeah, no, you absolutely could. And you're right. It is one of the things you got to think about is that that the other guy could potentially have multiple arms around you, and it limits your degrees of freedom
Right. But at
unless
the,
you
yeah,
also have got your multiple arms to deal with it. Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say, you've got some cavalry that you were maneuvering uh, that were double stacked, and of course, there's nothing wrong with that if you're fighting other cavalry. But obviously, you don't want that if you got any artillery around.
right. Yeah, so I'm gonna
You
have to
know,
kind of sort out a lot of that stuff. I had it all
yeah.
double stacked initially because, David uh, was particularly unkind. He had those huge
Yeah,
stacks of,
he made a couple of doom
oh
stacks,
my
didn't
gosh,
he?
yeah, it
Yeah,
was like, it
yeah,
was the Death Star pulling up and just blowing
yeah,
you away, kind of thing. So that's why I like kind of like, okay, well, I can do that too. Um,
yeah. But I think what's nice about it is that it's not like that big stack is always the right answer, and
right.
it's not like spreading out is always the right answer. It's contextual, and if you think about it, looking at that battle, that was a classic case where you really could stack up if you wanted to, because nobody was shooting at you. There wasn't anybody with a gun for a mile.
Yeah, and that's why I was thinking, when we were playing, I'm like, I probably should have just kept moving the guns all the way down to that little village where they could have at least fired into his big stacks of cavalry, or at least forced him
Could
to,
be. Yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
they did absolutely nothing to his infantry because they up on the rise there was a minus
Yeah.
because of the
The
elevation
minuses.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't get you much. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I think the guns would have been more practical down there at the far end of the line where they at least could have taken some pot shots at his cavalry.
Well, and especially, if you've got a plus 15, plus 20, whatever, even lousy odds can actually get some real results.
Yeah, I mean he had,
Even 1 to 3 on a plus 20, 20% chance of a hit.
yeah,
It's not bad considering it's 1 to 3. It's a lousy nothing.
yeah.
So yeah, no, that makes sense. So yeah, I think you'll find this one will be quite different, having to deal with all three arms at once in the same area. That'll your bar education continues.
Indeed, indeed.
There you
All
go.
right, well, I think that takes care of everything for me, so we can end the turn.
Oh, okay, yeah, and I think since we don't have anybody shaken or routed, there's no reason to worry about the rally phase. So we probably could just click the end turn
Okay,
and be done with it, because there's nothing else to do.
that's correct.
Okay. So if we click on that end turn, magically the field looks so crispy clean now.
It does.
And
We can
that
move.
was, let's see,
That
I'm going
was
to
the
slide us up to the top of the 2 o'clock hour. and I will save this game here as 1400.
All right.
All right, so we'll have that for another week. Don't think I'm giving away any state secrets when I point out that Thanksgiving is next Thursday.
That is correct.
I don't know that we would have anything that would infringe on our BL ability to play next Sunday night. Don't
Unless David is traveling.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I don't know of anything, so
Yeah.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Okay. I'm going to also press the moved button to remove all the little move
Oh,
tags.
yeah, no,
So you might
very
want to
good,
save it
absolutely.
again. Yeah.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yeah, will
cool.
do.
All right. I think we're set. Okay. Well, it'll be
Okay.
interesting to see how it all plays out. It is a interesting little puzzle to solve.
It is. It's also not as massive and unwieldy as Prague is,
Right.
so it's a little bit more intimate in that way. And we'll just see where we go. Probably there will be a lot of black powder and a lot of yelling. And
Yes.
and then there'll be the things happening on the map.
Indeed.
I was just talking about the chat in the lobby here in Discord. So,
One, two,
all
three,
right, sir.
four,
Well, I
five,
tell you what,
six. Okay.
I think my
I will
alarm is
let
set for
you. Yeah.
6.5 hours from now, so I think I will head to bed